So the third pattern I want to address is that I get to see a lot of, which is a survival pattern, and we all do it as well. It's if I just avoid the conflict, I will keep the peace. This one is the most dangerous because it looks like maturity. Stay quiet, keep it smooth. Do not rock the boat, and everything will be great. But peace that requires self abandonment is not peace. It is silence dressed up as harmony. And the truth of the matter is that conflict navigated with emotional safety and skill is not the enemy of intimacy. It is actually the doorway of intimacy. So, avoiding conflict, ladies, again, is a pattern. So just as we as individuals can have survival patterns that are ineffective and not giving us the results that we want in our lives, relationships can also get into the same dysfunctional survival patterns. So here I'm going to name three quick patterns that relationships get into when we're using survival patterns. The first one I'm going to call flatline. That is two people living side by side but emotionally disconnected. They tend to be very high functioning, by the way. They're very nice people. They get everything checked off, everything gets done, but there's not a lot of emotional depth and there's never any fighting. They never had a fight. Their friends think they're fantastic, but yet there's something missing because even their future is a little blurry because it's just they're kind of coasting. Then we have their opposite, which we all know these people. These are your rapid fire, they're high conflict, high intensity, and constantly escalating. I was raised in that household. My family, we are immigrants from the Dominican Republic. So I don't know too many Caribbean people who are not spicy, but we're kind of spicy. So I was raised in a very spicy, high conflict situation. Anyways, I decided I would never want to be married and living in that situation ever again. So I actually got married and went into the next dysfunctional relationship pattern, which is the irregular beats. One person pursues, the other one withdraws. The more one pushes, the more the other one pulls away and kind of hides and withdraws from the whole thing. They don't want to deal with whatever the situation is. They are conflict adverse. They hide. They want no part of it. These are not personality flaws. These are again survival patterns, and they continue to repeat themselves while we aren't aware of them, creating feelings of disillusionment and frustration instead of feeling safe and connected, which is what really we want and it's what matters most to us. Slide 4, please. The Fearless Love Framework. This is the reason why I actually created the Fearless Love Framework. It addresses three things: power, presence, and peace. And together they help to create secure love. And secure love helps you to create powerful leadership in your home and in every room you walk into. I'm going to be using four archetypes to help us understand these concepts. The first one is the queen. The second is the wizard. The third is the warrior. And the fourth is the lover. None of these, like one of these archetypes is not more important than the other. They all are important and they all work together to help us to become more whole and create what we truly want in our lives, which is more secure love. That's what everybody, every single human being and on this planet, all we want is love. I'm like, that's all we want. Nothing else is more important than that. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Which of these archetypes, the queen, the wizard, the warrior, or the lover, which one do you believe represents power? And feel free to type it in the chat. Which one represents power? And while we're doing that, we can go to slide 5. Power is represented by the queen. The queen is in charge of her kingdom, ladies, right? The queen is. Nobody else but the queen. So, healthy power is not about control, it is self leadership. The queen is the part of you that leads with grace, with wisdom, and stays grounded enough to tell the truth, to set boundaries, and to remain connected with herself and her values. This is a very important one. Connected to herself and her values. This is something I constantly have to remind my clients when we're making decisions. This is what we have to stick to. Make your decisions based on your values. She also takes responsibility for her internal state, and she holds both herself and the relationship with strength. Many times, what happens with us who are the overfunctioners, we will hold everybody else in strength and kind of forget about ourselves. When we are off balance, or when the queen is off balance, control takes over through overfunctioning, withdrawal, performance, or the need to be right. From our case study, John controlled through productivity. If he kept building, if he kept providing, if he kept solving, the relationship would work. At least in his mind, it would. And Isabel controlled through withdrawal. If she stopped needing, stopped asking, stopped being disappointed, in her mind, she believed she would not get hurt, or she would just stop finally getting hurt. In their fearless love journey, John learned to stop performing and start feeling, while Isabel began to see that her silence was not protecting love. It was actually removing her from it. Ouch. And they learned that power is the ability to fully be yourself and to be responsive to those you are in relationship with. It's a balancing act. We don't forget one over the other. So let's get into the next archetype. Which archetype do you believe represents the queen? I'm so sorry, not the queen.
I'm so
Presence.
yes.
Yes,
Thanks.
presence. Which archetype represents presence? The queen, the wizard, the warrior, or the lover? We have it there on the very good. Tanya, you're like on top of this, and so is Banky. Excellent, you guys. So presence is awareness with intention. The wizard is the part of us that helps us to become conscious of the unconscious. Instead of being reactive and automatically reacting to things, we become responsive and intentional when we pause and allow the wizard to give us input. Because that's the piece. We got to pause and let the wizard provide its wisdom and let it channel it through us. And many, as you all know, most of us are present physically in a room, but mentally we can be somewhere else. And our partner, usually the person sitting across from us, feels it, not as a distraction, but as abandonment. In our case study, John was magnetic. He was engaging, the kind of man who would light up a room when he walked into it. He was also a perfectionist. His phone never left his hand during dinner, on vacation, the last thing he touched before bed and sleep, and the first thing he reached for in the mornings was the phone. And not because he did not love Isabel, because he did. We already established this. There was love between them. The problem is he felt competent with the phone. He felt needed with his darn phone, and he felt in control with the phone. Isabel had learned all of this, so she stopped reaching for him And he did not notice because he was never fully present to notice. In their fearless love journey, John began to practice what I call relational presence, the deliberate act of letting another person in, not just hearing the words, not listening to respond, not listening to fix, listening to understand. In that moment, John realized something very powerful. He had not just been disconnected from his wife, from Isabel, he had been disconnected from himself. Now that is the wizard. Awareness returning, seeing what's actually here in the here and now, interpreting the old patterns in real time.